Full and uncut versions available on Patreon. Check in the description below. Greetings once again, Pokemaniacs. Duuz-Diz-Din back again with more of the Pokemon Adventures manga, where previously, after surviving the Servari Zone, Red had met up with none other than Giovanni, unbeknownst to him, the leader of Team Rocket, who assessed Red's abilities, finding him very adept but naive in a lot of his actions, feeling that ultimately Red would be his own undoing, or at the very least someone he could use somewhere down the line. Red had also done his best in trying to keep one of the legendary birds, Articuno, away from Team Rocket, but ultimately to no avail. While he did manage to team up with the former Team Rocket scientist Blaine, gaining an Aerodactyl, later down the line, Team Rocket did manage to catch Articuno, having already caught Moltres, and then later catching Zapdos, the three legendary bird Pokemon in their possession. Why were they after Blaine though? Well, Blaine had somehow managed to lose track of Mewtwo. Well, not lose track, halt the progression on developing Mewtwo, hence why they went after the legendary bird. Now Team Rocket has managed to close off the city of Saffron with a barrier around the perimeter, causing nobody to be able to fly in. Both Blue and Green had tried to gain access but to no avail, so Blue went back to Pallet Town where he met up with Red, who found himself in his own predicament, having been ambushed by a Kadabra that transformed itself into Professor Oak at the behest of Sabrina, gym leader and member of Team Rocket. Now knowing what they're up against, it's leading into the final battle to take back Saffron City, the held hostage citizens of Pallet Town, and to finally free the legendary bird Pokemon. Can our heroes do it with just so few on their side? Join me as I find out, won't you? Alright, Pokemon Adventures Volume 3. Alright, we pick up in the ruins of the destroyed Pallet Town lab, where Red is looking at the picture of the members of Team Rocket in Saffron City. He says, let me get this straight. Team Rocket is in Saffron City, which means, and Blue says, like I said, it's time for the final showdown between us and them. In Chapter 28, Piece of Mime. I will say that the serious moments are sometimes undercut by these puns. Red gasps, saying, But what about the Pokemon that I gave to Professor Oak using Bill's transporter? He accesses the computer and sees data on Eevee. He says Eevee is gone. Blue checks the computer as well, saying the Pokemon that I sent over haven't been touched. If you ask me, Red, you're the reason they attacked this place. As he eyes Red, who remains silent, Blue turns away, saying that's what you get for trying to be everyone's protector. Red, shocked at this, and says, what? He goes in for a strike, but, well, let's face it, Red's never been that great in an actual fight, as Blue easily catches Red's punch. Blue tells him, listen up, Red. I'm gonna deal with Team Rocket, okay? You stay out of this. Red is aghast, saying, what? Blue turns away, saying, I really don't care if Team Rocket wants to buy, sell, or experiment on Pokemon. That's cold. Red tells him, then you're the one who better stay out of it. Blue then looks to the sky and the destroyed lab, saying, do you know why my grandfather built his research center in Pallet Town, out here in the middle of nowhere? Red doesn't respond. Blue turns to him, saying, the day you and I met, Mew, the rarest of all Pokemon, was sighted here. Take a guess why. Yeah, I figured that would be a bit beyond your mental capacity. Well, consider this. Man, Blue is a jerk in a completely different way than Gary ever was. This is the one place on Earth where Pokemon aren't threatened by pollution. A palette is a blank surface an artist mixes paints on. Pallet Town was pristine until they came. And it's my town. Whoever kidnapped my grandfather and defiled this place answers to me. So you stay out of this. And he takes off on his Charizard. As Red calls out to Blue, he watches him fly away. He then grows angry, saying, who is he to tell me to stay out of this? Pallet Town is my hometown too, as he brings out Aerodactyl. We then cut over to Saffron City's west entrance, where Blue is using his Charizard in order to try to burn through the barrier. Ooh, I almost forgot, because we got a Charizard bringing out my favorite Pokemon. Bada bing. Blue says the strength of the barrier is the same as before, but the barrier is huge. If a single Pokemon is projecting this entire thing, I bet there's a weak spot, like the very center. Meanwhile, enter Red with his Aerodactyl, and he calls out, "Go, Hyper Beam!" Aerodactyl does just that. But then Red notes, not even a dent. Blue said there was no way through this thing. Was he right? I'd hate it if he was. Wait. So it's solid all around the bottom. But what about the top? Actually, yeah, that's a good point. And yeah, the barrier is there, but how high does it go? And is it as strong at the highest point? Red tells him, "Let's go, Aerodactyl, up." And as they head to the top, they then spot Blue on his Charizard. Feels like a meme moment. Or they're just passing by each other and just going, "Wait a minute." Blue calls out, "Hey, quit copying me." And Red says, "Who's copying who?" And as they bicker, Green just floats on by saying, "Oh, those two. Figures they know each other." Red and Blue then continue to have their Charizard and Aerodactyl try to attack. As Green notes, top, bottom, center, doesn't make any difference. Red then notices as Blue turns away going back down. As he thinks to himself, so there's no way to break through this thing physically. As he demounts Charizard on the ground, he says, but not everything is physical. Golduck, search the inside with confusion power, which I don't know if that's how that works. But then again, I don't know if the ability search was available at this time. Well, he brings out his Golduck, and Golduck does his thing. As Blue brings out his Pokédex, thinking, scan it from the outside, find the location of the trainer and the Pokemon producing the barrier. If I channel Golduck's thoughts to appear visually in the Pokédex, which, damn, I'm surprised the Pokédex can do all of that. And as Golduck gets a reading, it comes up on Blue's Pokédex. As we see a Mr. Mime between two rocket grunts, which, man, one Mr. Mime doing all this? They must be juicing that thing. Blue gets the reading saying, Mr. Mime. So this is what they call the light screen, which, light screen ain't that powerful. Also, another readout of, the Pokédex that looks like the actual game. Blue notes, they're in front of the central building. Now at least I know who and where the enemy is. And as Red flies overhead, he says, that stupid Blue figured something out. I know he did. I hate it. Oh, I've got it. Wahaha, as he brings out his Pokeball and pops out Pikachu and says, Pikachu, substitute. And as Pikachu's astral body, it goes off. Red says, this barrier is nothing to Pikachu's energy clone. Take that, Blue Boy. Which, I don't know if that's how substitute works, but whatever. The astral form of Pikachu makes its way inside, going undetected by the rocket grunts patrolling the street. Red notes to himself mentally, okay, we're in, but where's the enemy? And how do you know what Pikachu is doing? We're kind of fudging how a lot of these abilities work, but whatever. Meanwhile, at the same time, Blue thinks to himself, okay, I know where the enemy is. Now what? Like, yeah, you guys, you got far enough, but you don't really have a plan beyond info gathering. Green floats on down on her Jigglypuff, which, this poor Jigglypuff. Oh, she looks happy enough. And she calls out to the two boys, oh, brilliant. Together you can win. Separately, you can just keep score. What do you think? This is a video game? The two boys then ponder their Pokemon. A nervous Blue says, it so happens, Red, that I can tell you our foe's exact position. While Red says, he can't get you in, but Pikachu and I can fight him. And so, the astral form of Pikachu gives a nod to the Golduck, and Blue calls out to Golduck to give the information to Pikachu's astral body. Blue tells Red, Gold will transmit the sensory waves it's reading to Pikachu, and Red brings out his Pokédex saying, leave the rest to us, Blue. And as Mr. Mime continues to go around the perimeter making sure the light screen is kept up, Blue calls out to his Golduck, one foe's on the move, tell Pikachu. Okay, so it's multiple Mr. Mimes then, right? Pikachu gets the signal from Golduck and makes his way towards Mr. Mime. Mr. Mime does something? Red calls out, Mr. Mime is disappearing. Blue says, Golduck, he's got it. As Golduck continues to feed information to Pikachu's astral body, Mr. Mime continues to do its best to avoid being detected, but both Blue and Red call out now, as Red commands Pikachu to use Thunderbolt, I guess on the area where they're still detecting where Mr. Mime probably is. And as Red and Blue wait, Mr. Mime is taken down and faints. The light screen surrounding Saffron City goes down. Red cheers, we did it, the barrier's gone. Hey, wait up! As he notices Blue racing in. Green, over around the corner, chuckles to herself saying, they do all the work and I get what I'm after. Ooh, I'm good. Good in a manner of speaking. As Red chases after Blue as they make their way inside. Red calls out, hey Blue, hold it. As Blue calls out, I didn't help you so you could make this your show. Where is the guy I gotta fight? Where? Meanwhile, at the Sylph Company headquarters, Lieutenant Surge peeks out from the top floor, spotting both Blue and Red as he says, I'm right here. I have to assume they've entered into the Sylph Company building. As Red calls out, Blue, where are you going? Red looks around saying, whoa, this building's pretty fancy. You sure this is Team Rocket's headquarters? Blue searches around intensely saying, when Golduck first found Mr. Mime, this is where they were. It's a central location with a major road on all four sides. Suddenly a trapdoor opens under Red, and as he falls in, Blue calls out to him, reaching out his hand. Red does the same, but a ninja star hits at Blue's feet, forcing him to stop. Koga then starts to appear behind Blue, saying, I give you 1 point for breaking the barrier, but that's all. Oh, and on that note, another Pokemon. Man, Blue manages to have all my favorite Pokemon in this, as we're in Chapter 29, Go for the Golbat, as Blue brings out his Scyther, who goes in to strike Koga, and he goes for the jugular too, as Blue tells his Scyther to use Slash. Scyther cuts into Koga, but Koga just floats there. Koga notes, you're quick, as Koga's shoulder starts to ooze more than just blood. Blue is aghast, as it's seen that what's surrounding Koga is none other than his muck he's using as, I guess, a shield. Koga notes, you're a clever one choosing your attack before you've even appraised your enemy. Blue notes, on your shoulder, a Grimer. As Grimer starts to surround Scyther, Blue says, you're the one from the Pokemon Tower in Lavender City. But suddenly, another Grimer, or a part of Grimer, comes up behind Blue before he can go for his Pokeballs, managing to restrain him. Koga notes, last time I was careless. This time, I won't let you get to your Pokeballs. As Grimer continues to restrict Blue, Koga says, and without his Pokemon, a Pokemon trainer is just a kid. Hurts, doesn't it? Meanwhile, with Red, as he rubs his hurt posterior, he looks up as the trap door he fell through closes back. Red says, what the? Where am I? Am I back on the first floor? No, I don't think I've been here before. He looks around, but then backs himself into an electric barrier surrounding the walls. He cries out, yow! What is this wall? These walls, they're electrified, and seems like I've felt this exact same shock somewhere before. Suddenly, he's attacked by Voltorb and, I'm forgetting the other one's name. An Electrode, there we go. A horde of them. As he cries out and dodges their attack, he says, that's it. The Pokemon smuggler in Vermilion City. The bad guy was a gym leader. He used electric Pokemon. Enter Lieutenant Surge, saying, to be precise, it was me, Lieutenant Surge, 1/3 of the command triad of Team Rocket. Man triad, jeez. As he's decked out in, all these guys are decked out in Pokemon armor, which is a very interesting look. You see that more later down the line in the games, but it's mostly an aesthetic look for most people. You've got a belt full of Electrode and Voltorb, which didn't all be the same size, and like palindromes or whatever you call them made up of magneton? Lieutenant Surge tells Red, you certainly managed to complicate things for me back then. Red notes, a gym leader on Team Rocket's side? Lieutenant Surge then brings out his bazooka, loading up Voltorb and Electrode. I keep forgetting the name, as ammunition of all things, saying, this time I won't give you a break. And he fires off a Voltorb, saying bye-bye. As the Voltorb hits Red, it slams him into the barrier, as Red is also held in place by Magnemite. Red screams out in pain, as Lieutenant Surge says, you might find this even more shocking. The electricity in this room will double, even triple the power of my Pokémon. As we see Electabuzz and Raichu, Lieutenant Surge says, it'll be an electrifying battle. A weakened Red questions, but why? Why would a gym leader be allies with Team Rocket? Lieutenant Surge says, a gym leader? Oh yeah, there was a time when I did something like that. You just called yourself a gym leader a little while ago. I took on the role of leader quite serious. I took the role of leader quite seriously. With dainty rules, training, proper Pokemon battles, and what did it gain me? What? It was all a pretense of power. But only real power lets me take whatever I want. Electrodes are quick, but lack strength. This launcher heightens their power and increases their speed. Besides, the magneton on both shoulders produce sonic booms that act as a defensive barrier, and it's all thanks to Team Rocket's technology. As Lieutenant Surge monologues, Red looks to his back and asks Pikachu, ready? He then calls out now, as Pikachu lets off, I don't know, Thunderball, and it hits Lieutenant Surge. While it doesn't seem to really harm him, he does cry out in pain a little bit, as Red smiles saying so much for Team Rocket, but Lieutenant Surge sticks out his tongue saying, just kidding, much to Red's shock. Surge says, do you think I'd enter an electric trap without putting on my insulated underwear first? Oh God, you're on my turf, boy. You should expect the unexpected. Everything in this building is devised to augment our power. By now, your little friend has it even worse, no doubt. Now, fire! As he fires off multiple Voltorb and Electrodes, all at Red, all shocking the bejesus out of him. Red thinks to himself, I don't get it. He's attacking at full strength from the start. Why don't they run out of power? Lieutenant Surge says, yeah. Do you really want to know? Oh, wait. No, Red was thinking that. How do you know his inner monologue? Okay, whatever. Do you want to know why their attacks and my armor are infinite reservoirs of power? Do you really? Just tell them. Then take that knowledge to your grave. The source of all this power, it's Zapdos, yep, and we see several clamps hooked up to a Zapdos. As Surge says, is the legendary Pokemon Zapdos. Red says, it can't be. Surge says, we captured it at the abandoned power plant, and the legends proved to be true. Thanks to Zapdos, my Pokemon and I will be eternally powerful. Now ask me if I want to go back to being a gym leader. He then commands his Electabuzz to attack. At the same time, Koga shows off his, Golbat viewing device or whatever on his wrist, telling Blue, there, that's what's happening on the first floor. The still bound to the muck or Grimer, Blue thinks about Red, and as Koga leans down towards Blue, he says, do you really think you have the luxury to worry about your friend? Blue once again struggles to get to his Pokeball, but Koga has the Grimer, wrench his hand out of the way. As Koga says, it's no use. Now it would be easy to simply destroy you, but I have something to ask of you. I'll let you breathe just enough. And Grimer uncovers Blue's mouth. Koga then says, understand that you're Professor Oak's grandson. We've been asking the professor for his assistance, but he doesn't seem to want to cooperate. Terrible, isn't it? Now, how do you think we might be able to change his mind? Blue doesn't answer, but Koga grabs him by the collar, saying, "Do you suppose if he sees his grandson suffer?" Koga gives a smile, saying, "It's your choice. Help us with dear old granddad, or perish." Well, Blue looks away and towards Scyther, and Scyther gives a nod. Blue then calls out, No, to both, and he calls out for Scyther, who manages to break free, lunging towards Koga. Koga says, "You fool," and uses the Ekans around his wrists to strike out at Scyther. Koga says, "If you want to be squashed that badly, then be gone already. Razor Wind." Okay, so that's an actual Golbat on his wrist. Okay, I don't know how Golbat is able to project things from its mouth, like viewing what's going on with red, but whatever. He has the Golbat use Razor Wind, which very small Golbat, and slices into the still bound Blue. Blue's last thoughts are of his grandpa as he falls to the ground. As Koga says, stubbornness runs in the family. He then views into the Golbat's mouth and sees Red still being shocked to all holy hell as both Koga and Lieutenant Surge laugh. Meanwhile, Green is still making her way up the stairs, saying, "This place is huge. Team Rocket must be making some real lettuce. Teehee. Amazing how far you can get just by slipping through the back door. Now there's nothing between me and my target, floor 3. But suddenly, there's an odd sensation that comes over Green. She looks around, saying, "What was that? Oh well, doesn't matter. I'm here." And she goes through a door. She finds herself outside. At the Pokemon Tower? Or that almost even looks like, the non-burned tower over in Johto. Now she's near a tower in some wasteland or something. In chapter 30, Zapdos. As Green says, "Wait a minute, I thought I was indoors." She looks around, seeing a murder of crows flying through the sky. A chill runs down Green's spine as a voice calls out, "Through the power of Psychic-type Pokemon, you must endure your most terrible, most secret fear." As Sabrina teleports in behind Green, Green jumps away, saying, "Well, la-dee-da. Blastoise attack." It's already a Blastoise. And Blastoise goes in for a punch, but it phases right through Sabrina, much to Green's shock. Sabrina then appears in another area behind Green, and Green says, "Hypnosis and Teleport, a master of psychic Pokemon." Sabrina says, "And 1/3 of the command triad of Team Rocket," which is, oddly enough, actually a thing in the games, but it was sure as hell wasn't the gym leaders. Usually you'd have the Rocket admins, but I guess this is the best they could really hope for. The one thing that's always notable, there's at least 3 or so prominent members of Team Rocket always under Giovanni. Once you had yellow version that became Jesse and James and Meowth and stuff, being the more prominent members who... Do Jesse and James even appear in the Pokemon Adventures manga? I don't think so. Yeah, I don't think so. I created the light screen around Saffron City. Call me Sabrina. Now, Kadabra and I are going to treat you to the wonders of floor 3. Psychic. And Kadabra does just that. Green is restrained, and all of her Pokeballs are knocked off of her belt. Green looks down, saying, "My Pokeballs." As Sabrina chuckles to herself, Green then says, "You're so clever at..." Oh no. It's Sabrina who says, "You're so clever at fooling silly boys." She then says, "Kadabra, eliminate Blastoise." And Kadabra slashes at Blastoise with its spoon. Sabrina then says, "Scared as you are, I imagine you led with your strongest Pokemon. So if this one falls, you're pretty well done for, aren't you?" Oh geez. She then says, "Kadabra, disable." And Kadabra plunges its claw into Blastoise's stomach, shattering the shell. Jeez. Green calls out for Blastoise and says, "No." Sabrina laughs. "Ha ha ha. Don't you get it now? This is what it means to oppose Team Rocket." Green then says, "You're the one who's gonna get it," and kicks a Pokeball out. Oh. And brings out Blastoise, saying, "Will the real Blastoise please stand up? Please stand up. Please stand up." Appearing behind Sabrina, Green says, "Blastoise, Mega Punch!" And Blastoise Mega Punches Kadabra. Sabrina then says, "So, what was that other? Ditto? As the Blastoise transforms back into a Ditto. Green, now freed, says, I can fool more than silly boys. Horsey. He brings out her Horsey, who uses smokescreen, which surrounds Sabrina and Kadabra. Green, in the screen of smoke, says, I can play head games too, sweetie. How do you like being blind? Green then puts on the Sylph Scope, which allows her to see through the haze, as she says, especially when you know that I can see you clearly. You're turning all red. Better watch your blood pressure. Sabrina blushes, thinking, where is she? As Green moves in behind her, saying, now let's get this over with. We then cut back to the first floor, where Lieutenant Surge laughs and grabs Red by the collar, lifting him up, as well as Pikachu, with them continuing to be shocked. Lieutenant Surge laughs. No matter how much voltage I blast, only you can feel it. Red continues to struggle, and Surge then tosses him into the electrified wall, saying, try a jolt of this. Get a load of this. Pikachu hits the ground hard. Red calls out to him, and he pulls off a Pokeball from his belt, saying, gotta do something. He brings out Ivysaur, which is smart. Ivysaur can't be harmed by the electricity. Well, not that badly. Oh, I guess I spoke too soon. As Lieutenant Surge says, it's hopeless, and he calls in Zapdos to use Thunder Shock on Ivysaur, which downs him in an instant. Surge laughs, saying, autumn's come early for Ivysaur this year. Red goes over to Ivysaur, saying, don't lose it, fight back. And Ivysaur uses Razor Leaf, which, the fact that it's both a grass Pokemon as well as a flying Pokemon, well, a grass Pokemon versus a flying Pokemon, that's where the disadvantage comes in. But the electric wouldn't affect Ivysaur. So it's hard to see how that really matches up, because the electric attack wouldn't do damage, but a flying attack would. So, but it makes sense that Zapdos would be able to bat away the Razor Leaf. As Surge says, it's hopeless, I'm telling you. I suppose a stubborn boy like you needs a more decisive blow. The hell am I looking at? I have no idea. Oh, is that like the crank on the device that he has? Okay. It says Zapdos, maximum energy. And Surge and Zapdos moves in on Red and Ivysaur as Surge lifts up his hand, saying goodbye, thunder. While Red says attack. Just what we've been waiting for, Ivysaur. As Surge then notices that he and Zapdos are surrounded by leaves, and Red has Ivysaur send him in, cutting the cords connecting Zapdos to Surge's device. Red says the cords are cut. Now all of Zapdos' energy will go straight into your body. But Surge smiles, saying, will it now? You little fool. As long as I'm wearing this underwear, I can't be electrocuted. But Surge then notices that, the cords weren't the only thing cut in that attack. His insulated clothing, underwear, has rips in them now, exposing his body. And now, because of that, he is electrified by Zapdos' presence as he cries out, my suit! The device on his back is also damaged as he's fried to a crisp, saying, it's not possible, and he falls to the ground. Red says Ivysaur's Razor Leaf wasn't just cutting the cords, which, I guess being in close proximity to a Pokemon that powerful wasn't good, because you think Red would have passed out from being shocked so much, but oh well. Red pats Ivysaur, saying, just what I was thinking, Ivysaur. He then goes rummaging around Surge's clothes and pulls out the Thunder Badge, saying, found it, the Thunder Badge. Guess I'll take these too. Oh, he gets the gloves now. Nice. That's actually kind of cool seeing him get the gloves. I didn't even think about the fact that he didn't have them this entire time. Though I know he's not always depicted with them in any of the games, but I always remember because I think it's when you fight him on Mount Silver, I think. I know you face off with him once and he has the gloves. As Red puts on these insulated gloves, looking down at Lieutenant Surge, he says, remember, no matter how many Pokemon you've got or how powerful they are, nothing's more powerful than true friendship between a trainer and his Pokemon. He then walks off with his Pokemon, saying, come on, let's go. I hope Blue's okay. As he makes his way up the stairs and gets to the second floor, he finds Koga looming over a downed Blue. Koga raises his hand with the Golbat, saying, let's end this. Golbat, attack! As Golbat moves in on Blue, Red shouts, no! and he tries to make his way in. He sends out Poliwrath, commanding it to attack, and as Poliwrath moves in on Koga, Koga notices it saying, another victim. And he has the Golbat strike at Poliwrath, sending it flying into Red. Koga then moves in on Red, saying, I do so hate to be interrupted. And Grimer moves from Blue to Red, enveloping him and rising him up. In Chapter 31, The Art of Articuno, Koga tells Red, if you're here, you must have defeated Lieutenant Surge. I better not underestimate you, eh? Well then, I won't. As soon as you've watched me destroy your friend here. Red calls out, struggling in Grimer's grasp, Blue, wake up, you gotta. And Koga says, no use. You see, he just took the brunt of Razor Wind. As he steps on Blue, he brings Golbat's razor-sharp wing to the back of Blue's neck, saying, now all that's left is to remove his head. And much to the shock of Red, Koga moves in with Golbat, saying, say bye-bye. But suddenly, there's a hit. Koga is shocked, Red is surprised, and Blue opens his eyes. Oh, jeez. As we see that Pidgeot has struck Koga in his midsection, fired out of Blue's Pokeball like a friggin' bullet. As Blue says, good job, Pidgeot. Koga reels back, saying, no one could take a razor wind to the heart and still move. And we see that it was Blue's pendant that was destroyed, with a picture of his grandpa popping out. As Blue says, how about someone who's wearing a pendant with reflective power? My grandfather, Professor Oak, gave it to me. I knew if I played possum long enough, you'd call off your Grimer. And kid, you got real lucky in that situation. Kogi gets pissed, saying, think you're clever, eh? Then meet Articuno. And he brings out Articuno, commanding it to use Blizzard, which causes Blue to brace himself. Koga leaps back, saying, enjoy your little victories, boys. They won't last long. He then holds up Golbat's wing, which is still kind of silly to see, to Red's neck, saying, now back off now, or this one loses his head. Red winces as Blue pauses. Koga then says, you say your name's Red. Then you'll remember when we captured the legendary Articuno on the Seafoam Island. It wasn't easy. We even thought we'd lost it for a moment. But Team Rocket got what it wanted. Red says, and it's all thanks to you. Oh, no, Koga says, and it's all thanks to you. Red questions, what? Koga says, while fighting to protect you and your friends, the Articuno was forced to expand its enormous amount of energy, and that was the only thing that made it possible for us to defeat it. Red gives a sympathetic look to Articuno, who glares back at him. Koga smiles, saying, in case you don't know this word, this is what they call irony. The same Articuno that saved you then will destroy you now. Articuno, blow him away. Ice Beam! And Articuno unleashes a torrent of ice upon Blue. He then says, freeze, boy, as he uses it on Red as well, which starts to freeze Red. Blue calls out to Red, saying it doesn't make sense. This guy's controlling Articuno too easily. And as Blue braces himself from another torrent of ice, Koga says, thanks to the power of Team Rocket. But Blue notices something, thinking, wait, that's the soul badge. He shouts out, as Koga says, so you finally noticed, did you? We both seem to have forgotten that the trainer badges are more than the mere souvenirs of... Oh, you both seem to have forgotten that the trainer badges are more than mere souvenirs of battle, which I do forget sometimes too, because it's like, oh, certain Pokemon will obey you. It's like, yeah, but by that point, I'm already powerful enough. It didn't really matter. Each contains a form of energy that heightens a Pokemon's power and empowers the badge holder to control any Pokemon. This Articuno happens to be under the power of 4 badges, held by the Team Rocket Triad and our exalted leader. We can make any Pokemon jump to fulfill our every command. This is why we threw away our status as independent gym leaders. This is true power! As Red starts to freeze from his feet up, he cries out, my feet! Blue turns to Red in shock, calling out to him, as Koga says, now you get it? Your turn. As he commands Articuno to attack Blue, Red calls out, Blue, run! And Blue says, there's nowhere to run too. As Articuno hits the wall next to Blue and it starts to crumble, cutting him off, his feet then start to freeze as well. Koga says checkmate as he commands Articuno to use full power, freeze the room. Pidgeot's frozen as well. As the boys continue to be more and more encased in ice, Koga says, ha! 2 ice trainers coming up. And as Red and Blue are fully frozen, Koga says, foolish brat, I could have used you as underlings if you'd only known when to admit defeat. Koga turns to leave saying, well, no need to overdo things and freeze the whole room. Hate to admit it, but they sure made me work up a sweat. But suddenly, Koga is struck from behind, and as he looks back in shock, saying, what? He sees both Red and Blue, unfrozen, with Pikachu and Porygon at their side. Koga says, no, you were frozen. But then we see that Charizard was outside the building, unleashing his flames, which instantly unfroze them. Oh, there's also the problem of the building is half on fire, but whatever. Blue then calls out Red. Red says, let's do it. Blue commands his Porygon to use Tri-Attack, while Red tells Pikachu to use Thunder Shock. They both attack Koga, who cries out in pain, and he falls to the ground. As Blue says, I released Charizard while in the hole in the wall opened. I figured if you were going to freeze the room on the inside, I'd just have to roast it from the outside. Which, you're lucky that that kind of canceled things out, kid. You just weren't thinking on a grand enough scale. Koga drops the soul badge, and Blue takes it, but Red calls out, hey Blue, you didn't have to flame the whole building, that was hot. As we see Blue is fried. We see Red is fried along with Blue. Blue chuckles to himself saying, can't take it, Blue then brings out Golduck and looks at his Pokédex, saying, it's no use. I'm trying to see if the monitor will show what Golduck is picking up mentally, but some strange psychic pulse seems to be blocking it. I guess we'll have to find Grandfather with this. As he goes over to Golbat, picking up, he says, okay, Golbat, show me, where is Professor Oak being held? The dizzy Golbat shows a depiction of a tied-up Professor Oak somewhere. Blue saying, Grandpa. Red says, that looks like the basement. They suddenly hear Green shriek in terror. Red looks up to the 3rd floor saying, that sounded like a girl. Green? Suddenly, Blue tosses something to Red, saying, Red, take this. Remember what Koga said. Use it. As Blue hands over the soul badge and says, I'll meet up with you as soon as I can. The 2 boys race off in different directions. As we cut to chapter 32, a little Kadabra do it. Green and her horsey brace themselves from the attack from Sabrina's Kadabra, as Sabrina calls out, a Team Rocket leader is not to be taken lightly. She chuckles saying, get it now? Green says, how can you see? It's pitch dark. Sabrina explains, when I was little, the spoon I ate my strained peas with suddenly bent. From that day on, I have been a psychic warrior. Much simpler story than in the anime. Then again, we get to see more of Sabrina than in the anime. Green thinks to herself, not only a trainer of psychic Pokemon, but a psychic in her own right. Sabrina then unleashes a torrent of psychic wind, saying, most screen like this is nothing to me, understand? What I cannot see with my eyes, I see with my mind's eye. She then uses psychic against Green. As it clears away Horsey's smoke screen, Sabrina then uses disable on Green, which causes her to freeze in place. Green says, what? No, I can't move. Sabrina and her Kadabra move in, Sabrina laughing, saying, welcome to the big leagues, dearest. Yours will be a short career. As Kadabra uses its spoon, lifting up Green's neck to strike. Green says, you're a good fighter, all right, but then I guess fighting's all you care about. Judging by your flyaway hair and a tacky outfit, you aren't cute and stylish like me. Sabrina says, cheap shots, eh? Kadabra, attack. Green then says, gotcha, while Sabrina says, lost my focus when she dissed me, and suddenly Clefairy and Jigglypuff appear. Now this is something I gotta talk about. As originally it's a scene where Green says, you're a good fighter, all right, not healthy like me judging by your rough skin and scrawny body. So Sabrina says, cheap shots, Kadabra slash, and Kadabra ripped through Green's shirt, revealing Poke Boobies. And then she sends out Clefairy and Jigglypuff. It's one of those things that is always kind of brought up as a bit of censorship, which understandable censorship given the subject matter. I mean, it's a funny moment, but it's still kind of like, So Green then says, I have to get free of this hallucination. Clefairy, growl, Jigglypuff, sing, and the attack causes Sabrina to start to lose her focus. And she says, this hideous sound wave prevents me from locating her. And suddenly, Green is back in a regular room, as she says, and the hallucination goes poof. Now, he then thinks, I don't stand a chance against her psychic powers, and my Pokemon are totally outclassed. All I can do is escape. But as she goes for the door, she says, wait a minute, as long as I'm here. And she takes, what was it? The March badge from Sabrina, saying, it's mine now, bye-bye. Also, I gotta say, hold on. You have several scenes where Green is holding her ripped up top, to protect her modesty and all that. So a lot of her poses don't make as much sense in the manga because, like, why is she posing like this? Like she's covering her chest. But then again, you might not think about it too much in the moment. We then cut back to Red, who's still wandering the hall saying, yeesh, is this place a maze or something? Suddenly I'm a lot further up than I thought, but still no sign of Green. Huh? He sees an open door, questioning, where am I? And he sees some kind of plate that has indents that seem to be for the gym badges, saying, and what's this? Pretty heavy, that's for sure, as he picks it up. But suddenly, two rocket grunts outside the door are communicating with each other, saying, find them. The other says, no. They've not only defeated Surge, but Koga too. And if that isn't bad enough, they set the building on fire. Yeah, so the building is just on fire. Oh, one of those guys is Harry. I don't know what the other guy's name is. Harry says, we've got to find those brats fast, but we can't stray from the room with the Pokemon badge energy amplifier. Okay, what's the other guy's name? Oh, Ken. And the other guy's name is Al. Okay, so Harry, Ken, and Al. Red, hiding behind the pedestal that the amplifier was on, says to himself, Pokemon badge energy amplifier? This thing must be it. Suddenly, Sabrina comes up behind the two saying, what are you two doing? She walks up to them saying, did an ugly girl just run by? Harry says, no ma'am. She then says, you're relieved of duty. Go below. They race off saying, yes, Sabrina. Red starts to panic, peeking out, thinking, hey, that's the one who attacked the research center. Sabrina enters into the room as Red ducks down, thinking, and she's coming in. Sabrina glances around as Red thinks, is she looking for this? These indentations, they're in the shape of Pokemon trainer badges. Do the badges fit in them? Is this the machine that Koga used? Red looks at his badges, thinking, I've got 6 of the badges with me. I only need one more badge to fill all 7 slots. He then accidentally drops the device, which clangs on the floor. He picks it back up as Sabrina turns, saying, who's there? Red panics, but then pops out from behind the pedestal saying, well, the best defense is a good offense. In other words, Pikachu. Sends out Pikachu. But Pikachu then comes up to Sabrina timidly. Red says, Pikachu, what's wrong? And Sabrina pets Pikachu saying, how cute. Pikachu knows I'm not really an enemy. Oh, you found the device, I see. She then goes up to Red saying, something wrong, Red, as her face starts to melt. Okay, I get what's going on here. Red freaks out as Green takes off her Sabrina mask, saying, oh, come on, surely you remember that I'm a master of disguise, which is not true. You're not a master of disguise. He's never seen you in disguise before. As she says, at least Pikachu knew it was me. Red questions Green? She says, oh, you finally figured it out. As Green's mask turns back into Ditto. As Red says, right. Meanwhile, in the basement, Blue is still using Golbat to search. He thinks to himself, basement level 1. That's what the display said, but he then sees something shuffling behind some crates, finding Professor Oak. He calls out, Grandpa. Oak says, Blue? Blue goes over to him saying, are you hurt? Oak says, forget about me. You've got to help the people of the town first. Below us in basement level 2, there's a huge Pokemon training ground. All the people who were taken from the town are there. The people of Pallet Town have an innate empathy for the feelings of Pokemon. And gotta make the people of Pallet Town the special, huh? They were trying to use that power to... Oak staggers a little bit as Blue calls out to him. Oak says, I'm hurt. Worse than I thought. They wanted me to replace a scientist who escaped from them. A scientist who was working on a terrible experiment. Blue helps bring Oak over to the stairs. Meanwhile, back with Green and Red, Green says, "Hey Red, take a gander at this," as she holds up the marsh badge, saying, "I just stole it off that psychic girl, teehee." Red reaches for it, saying, "Give me that, Green." Green says, "Give it to you? For free? Oh, please. You know I'm me better than that. But I'll do a trade because I'm such a sweetheart. I'll give you this badge for your moonstone." Red says, "What? Oh, she could use that, though. To evolve her, wait, does she have a Clefairy or Clefable? Yeah, she has a Clefairy, so she could evolve it into a Clefable with the Moonstone." Green sits on the pedestal, saying, "The Moonstone, don't pretend you don't have it." Red thinks to himself, "I've got to have that stone in case I ever meet up with I think it's Green who's thinking that, thinking, "I gotta have that stone in case I ever meet up with Sabrina again." Red says, "Come on, Green. We don't have to haggle if we join forces and fight together." But Green stops him, saying, "Wise up, Red. We came here for different reasons, but this trade will help both of us get what we want. Just trust me and do as I say." Red says, "Did you just say trust you?" Green gives a wink, saying, "Why not?" They hand over what the other wants. As Green says, "Trade." There we go, trade complete. Red, now with the marsh beds, holds up the amplifier device, thinking, "Guess I can't complain. While Green thinks, everything's going exactly according to plan. She then says, "Hey Red, to be fair, I should tell you. That device is their secret weapon. When all 7 badges are inserted, it generates energy that amplifies Pokemon's power big time." Red says, "Thanks for the info." But Red doesn't notice the wry smile that Green has, as she thinks, well, actually, the real truth is that it creates a new Pokemon. And the only reason I collected all these badges and sneaked into this building was to get my hands on that new Pokemon. But suddenly a voice calls out behind them, saying, "All the more reason to eliminate you." As if I needed more of a reason. Sabrina is in the doorway, saying, "You little brats. Bad enough that you made a fool of me." Green says, "The real Sabrina." Sabrina says, "Hand over that device." Red calls out, "Green, this is dangerous. Stay back." And Green does just that, saying, "Okay." As Red inserts the marsh badge, he says, "You want this, huh? Well, I'll give it to you. Here goes, number 7, and... All right, here we go, Pikachu." And he holds the device out to Pikachu, who readies himself, but nothing happened. Red says, "Green, what's going on?" And Green grabs the device, saying, "Hand it over." But Sabrina gets angry, saying, "If you won't attack, I will." And she commands Kadabra to use Psybeam as the two rush away from the attack. Green says, "Sorry, Red," as she reveals her earrings, which are the Boulder badge and the, Cascade badge. There we go. As Red says, What? Green tells him, "What? You thought the badges I returned to you way back when were real? Like I said, you should know me better than that. Teehee, I'll leave the rest to you." As she rushes out the door. Man, what a jerk. As well as having grabbed the device, I didn't notice that at first. Red says, "Hey, Green." "Why, you little..." As he grows angry, Sabrina comes up behind him, saying, "In fighting, what amateurs? Come forth, Moltres." She then commands Kadabra, "Bring forth Articuno and Zapdos." And all 3 legendary bird Pokemon surround Red and his Pikachu as Sabrina laughs. Meanwhile, Green peeks around the corner, saying, "This should be far enough. Nobody will catch up to me now. Okay then, get rid of these fakes and..." Now all 7 are together as she inserts the 2 badges into the device. A glowing orb pops up as she says, "It's working. At last, the new Pokemon is..." But suddenly the orb takes off. And she says, "What? No, it's flying away." The orb then enters the room where Red is battling Sabrina. Red turns, thinking, what the? As Sabrina says, "Finally, it's here." Meanwhile, outside, rocket grunts are running everywhere, saying, "You've got to be kidding me. Those are kids, just kids." The fire spreading from the main building. "We have to get out of here." But suddenly, a pile of rocks appears behind them, with a voice calling out, "My apologies, but you're not going anywhere." As Brock shows up with his Onix, striking out at the rocket grunts he calls out, "Onix, tackle. You fought me and this Onix once, Red. Now it's time for us to fight together. Which, I don't know how you know that Red's here, but whatever. As Onyx holds down the rocket, grunts. Brock says, Brock here, the southern gate is sealed. Meanwhile, we see Misty with her Star You and Star Me holding off some other grunts as she calls in, This is Misty, I've got the northern gate. Meanwhile, Erica and her people are at the other gate saying, Erica, western gate secured too. My townsfolk from Celadon City have surrounded the eastern gate. Saffron City is surrounded, and our allies, Red and Blue, must have penetrated Sylph Company's central headquarters by now. I feel like this is appearing more organized than it actually was, because Erica, Misty, and Brock seem to have been very coordinated. How they knew that Blue and Red were doing their thing is anyone's guess. Unless Blue had communicated to Erica and the others what he was up to, because I still feel like he must be in alliance with them, but I don't know. It'd make more sense that Oak somehow communicated everything to them before he was captured. Erica then says, Our unknowing allies, I should say. We kept this plan secret from them to make sure that Team Rocket wouldn't discover it. Good luck, Red, which puts them in a lot of danger, but then again, they were already in a lot of danger regardless. Oh, Jesus. Okay. The device seems to have merged Zapdos, Moltres, and Articuno into a three-headed bird chimera thing. In Chapter 33, The Winged Legends. Red is shocked, saying, What's that? And Sabrina says, Thanks to the power aura generated by this device, these three bird Pokemon have produced a single legendary Pokemon. Green enters into the room, sees the freak of a creature, shouts, and then faints. Red calls out to Green, while Sabrina says, Fire Spin, Thunder, Blizzard, and all three attack at once in unison, striking right next to Red. As he turns, seeing the wall crumble behind him, Sabrina says this is Team Rocket's greatest scientific achievement. A simultaneous strike with the power of three Pokemon at once. As she, I guess, throws out Eevee. Suddenly Eevee's just hitting the ground. As Red calls out to Eevee, Sabrina says, Yes, we experimented on your precious Eevee toward the same end. The legendary prototype, you might say. After you transported the little thing to the research center, we took it back for a few final experiments, but now we have no use for Eevee anymore. Red grabs Eevee, saying, You creeps. Sabrina smugly looks down on him, saying, That's the fate of all lab creatures. Dang, cold-blooded. Red then brings out Ivysaur, saying, You can't stop me, and commands Ivysaur to attack with a, Vine Whip. But the triple legendary Pokemon manages to whap Ivysaur away, as Sabrina says, Haven't you learned yet? As Ivysaur goes plummeting out of the hole in the wall, down to the ground below, Red calls out, No! Sabrina says it's no use. Oh, how I've longed for this power. Volcano, Boulder, Marsh, Thunder, Rainbow, Cascade, Soul, Heart. Might as well be. By your powers combined, the powers of all the gym leaders. We've long known that we needed all the badges to combine Pokemon powers, but taking the badges from experienced gym leaders was no easy task. Several times we tried force to no avail. Wait. The attack on that Pokemon Center was in order to gain gym badges? Weird. So we decided to wait for you and your friend Blue to collect them for us. Man, if they're this dangerous, why would you give them away? Then again, I guess they wouldn't have assumed that someone would use them this way. We could have destroyed you both easily anytime we wanted to, but you still had a job to do for us. Now, I'd like to thank you for your cooperation and tell you goodbye. She has the triple legendary strike out at Red and Pikachu. As Sabrina says, we're taking over your beloved Pallet Town. We'll make good use of its unspoiled land and its people with their strange empathy for Pokemon. At last, this place will serve a useful purpose. As Red struggles in the attack, he remembers Blue's words. This is the one place on Earth where Pokemon aren't threatened by pollution. Pallet Town was pristine until they came. Red says, This town is ours, and we're not letting you mess it up. And he sends out Pikachu to attack. But suddenly, Red appears in the hole in the wall on top of Charizard. As he says, that's telling her, Red, we're going down fighting. Red calls out to Blue in shock as Blue says, I've rescued my grandfather and the townspeople. All that's left is to defeat this freak. Sabrina says, who are you calling a freak? What impertinent! And she commands the Pokemon to attack again. Or is that Sabrina using her psychic powers? Either way, the two boys hit the ground hard. And Sabrina says, you're charming boys, Red and Blue. I'm sure you would have grown up to be very handsome men. Perhaps even as charismatic as Giovanni. Well, I guess we'll never know. And she commands the triple bird to use gust. The winds surround the two boys as well as the down green, as Sabrina laughs, saying, oh, I can't wait to tell Giovanni all about this. As the two boys brace themselves in the attack, Red thinks, we're never gonna win like this. Gotta find a way to escape, quick. Think. He then looks out at the opening in the wall, seeing the moon. He then thinks Green really wanted this moonstone. He must have been planning to use it for something. He sees the moonstone and a Pokeball roll away from Green. As he thinks, okay, I'll take a chance. He holds the moonstone up through the opening, thinking Blue's still bearing the brunt of the attack. Now's my chance. If I can find a way to use this on Green's Pokemon, maybe. He brings out the Clefairy, and I was about to say Digivolve, evolves into Clefable. Clefable then wags its finger and goes flying towards the triple bird Pokemon. Sabrina says, what? Quick attack? Red then says, now, and orders Clefable to use Comet Punch, Hyper Beam, Fury Attack, which, dang, that's a lot of attack. I guess because it's a triple Pokemon, you can use 3 different attacks at once. Blue says Metronome is a special attack that releases other attacks at random. And now that Clefairy's evolved into Clefable, it's super powerful. It wouldn't be that powerful. It kind of also sucks that Green isn't the one unleashing all of this, but what can you do? Red says we got an escape route now. Exit. But Sabrina says, oh no you don't. Sky Attack. And the attack hits all 3 of them, sending them plummeting out the opening in the wall. Sabrina says not even they can survive a fall like that. Do I feel a chill? I guess Ivysaur created a net to catch them? I don't know how Ivysaur... How did Ivysaur manage to do all that? Was it did it manage to grab on through the opening with its vines to keep itself from falling? Whatever. She commands the triple bird to use Sky Attack again. Get them! Red calls out incoming. He calls out to Green, who says, who else? We've got some attacks up our sleeve too. 3 of them specifically. As Charizard, Blastoise, and Ivysaur stand ready. Sabrina says Zapdos, Moltres, Articuno, attack. Red tells Ivysaur to use Vine Whip. Blue tells Charizard to use Flamethrower. And Green tells Blastoise to use Hydro Pump. God, it's so much. The 3 attacks hit each other. Well, the 3 separate attacks hit the 3 other attacks, meeting in the middle in a clash of elements as Red screams out attack. And in that moment, Ivysaur evolves into Venusaur, strengthening its attack power. And the force of the attack causes the building to start to collapse. As Red calls out, the building's going to collapse, hurry! And Sabrina is shocked as the triple bird is overpowered and all 3 of the attacks hit them all at once. Red calls out, yes! Sabrina hits the ground hard, calling out for Giovanni, and the legendary bird Pokemon finally separate, as Red calls out, Moltres, Zapdos, they're free! Red then looks up at Articuno, saying, yeah, Articuno too. Green calls out, the building's coming down. Blue takes off, he says, move it, Red! And Red peeks behind him, spotting Giovanni, sneering at him, going behind the wall, much to Red's, being perplexed. We then cut to outside, where all of the Grocket grunts have been rounded out by the townspeople. Blue helps Oak over to the other gym leaders, as Oak says, thank goodness everyone is safe and sound. Erica explains, no one slipped through our barricade. The 3 leaders and their boss are all beneath that collapsed building. Brock says, we've retrieved all the Pokemon they were using. And Misty adds, with proper training, they'll all become wonderful Pokemon. Red looks around, questioning, huh? Where's Green? While Green ducks behind a tree saying, I never dreamed Team Rocket's new Pokemon would be such a beast. So much for my big plans. She spots Professor Oak thinking, what's he doing here? Meanwhile, Blue turns away saying, Red, I'm looking forward to meeting you at the Indigo Plateau. While Red smiles back at him. And finally we have Mewtwo breaking out of his confinement in a flashback, shocking the researchers and the rocket grunts. Blaine saying, don't let it escape, as the building explodes. In Chapter 34, and Mewtwo 2 pick up in present day. Blaine awakening in the forests from a dream, saying it was just a dream to his Rapidash. But his arm twitches. Blaine saying, wow, so close. He mounts his Rapidash saying Cerulean City, Northwest Sector. Meanwhile, at a Pokemon Center, Red says, the Beast of Cerulean City? Oh, they're going after Mewtwo. Bill tells him, Beast is right. Ain't nothing but devastation out yonder. Thus, the Northwest Sector's just the Northwest Barbecue now. Red questions, are you sure it's a Pokemon? Bill tells him, ain't sure of nothing. Whatever it was deep fried the town, slipped into the Cerulean Caves, and is most likely hiding there now. Hey Red, just 'cause you beat down Team Rocket, don't go getting uppity and trying to catch that thing, you hear? Which, why would you tell him that? You know he's not going to listen. Like, Bill, you're such a gossip. You had to tell someone, but you told the one person who was going to immediately look into it. As Red exits the Pokemon Center, Sandy looks around saying, too late, Bill. I'm already here. He takes off with his Pokemon saying, sheesh. When I heard Beast, I figured it must be some powerful Pokemon, but I didn't expect this. It's like the whole place was trampled by some kind of, well, beast. As he looks over the destroyed wasteland of an area, he then ponders, a white body, pointy ears, purple eyes. What is it? That's funny, this area doesn't look burned or crushed, more like it was twisted somehow. He then spots the cave and looks in. So this is the cave Bill was talking about. Pikachu then gets his attention, and Red looks back to see all of his Pokemon shirking back fearfully. Red says, what? What's wrong with all of you? But suddenly there's some kind of tornado coming towards him. As he says, uh-oh, all of his Pokemon are whooped up into the tornado. As Red says, a tornado? No, something weird is going on. It's coming from that cave. Aerodactyl, help everybody. Gyarados. Pikachu grabs onto Red. Snorlax grabs onto Gyarados. And everyone creates this kind of vine of them with Aerodactyl airlifting everyone out. Red says, gotta get everybody except Aerodactyl into their Pokeballs. But as he looks at his belt, he says, huh? They're gone. Were they blown away? If this keeps on, we're gonna get sucked into that twister again. Come on. Oh no. But Aerodactyl's grip loosens, and they all fall into the hurricane as well. Red calls out help, but he's suddenly grabbed by someone who says, this is no time to panic. Quick, empty Pokeballs. And Red throws them all, capturing up his Pokemon again. He gathers them all, saying, yes. But then he notices Bill on top of his Rapidash. I keep saying Bill. Blaine on top of his Rapidash, who says, well, looks like it was my turn to save you, Red. Red is shocked to see Blaine, as Blaine says, this twister. Red says, this twister, is it coming from the monster of Cerulean City? Blaine says, that's right, Red. Red says, it's coming back. Shouldn't we, But Blaine says, you can leave it if you like, but I've got to defeat the thing that's forming it. There's no other way. This is no ordinary tornado. And he orders Rapidash to use Fire Spin. Red notices and says, it's bouncing back, as the Fire Spin comes back towards them. But Blaine says, did you see that, Red? That cyclonic energy is powerful enough to twist anything. It serves as an impenetrable shield by flinging back any kind of attack like a boomerang. The ultimate defense and offense in one. It's the dreaded Psy Wave. The master of the Psy Wave lurks at the bottom of the twister like an antlion. There's only one creature in the world with that kind of power. And towards the center, Red sees and makes out, saying, you mean Mewtwo. Mewtwo is there at the center, sending out the Psy Wave, and unleashes another powerful blast. Blaine tells Red it conceals itself, defends itself, and strikes back all at the same time. This is only one of its attacks. Red then notices saying, hey, it's disappearing. Ugh. Blaine says, I know. He then pulls up his sleeve, revealing a mass of flesh sagging off of it like it's melting, and then twists to a certain direction. As Blaine says, it's behind us. As Blaine gets Red out of the way of another attack from Mewtwo, Red says, Blaine, your arm. Ugh. As Blaine's arm pulsates and throbs with veins coming out of it. That is graphic. Blaine says this is why this thing has to be beaten now. That creature, as you know, is the genetic Pokemon I created from a cell of Mew. Red says, He then says, what you don't know is that it proved impossible to create an entire creature from the few Mew cells we cultured. So, added some human cells to the mix. Cells from my own arm. Ugh. I think that's a new little caveat to all of this. Blaine explains, alas, a backwash of renegade Mewtwo cells found their way up into my arm, which is why you clean the needle. Soon this arm will be useless, and in the end, Mewtwo cells will control my entire body and take my life. Dang. Red says, no, you're kidding. Blaine says, I wish I were. Anyway, at least those shared cells enable us both to know when the other is close. Call it a resonance effect of a natural tracking device. For the moment, I am a living Mewtwo locator, but when I am gone, there will be no hope. Let Team Rocket call me a traitor. Let them hound me to the ends of the earth. What should I fear now? But I do drone on, don't I? Rapidash turns to Red and then envelops him in flames, but the flames don't burn him. It's like they're carrying him off. Bill says, a fireball wall. You'll be safe inside. I have no right to drag you into this. Red calls out, don't be stupid, you can't do this alone. Bill tells him, who's stupid? Listen, kid, this isn't another one of your fun adventures. If I'm too late, city after city will be destroyed. He pats Red on the head, saying, you'll be a great trainer, Red, someday. Blaine's arm pulsates and throbs, and he heads off into the center of the Psywave Cyclone. As Red calls out, Blaine, no! I gotta say, the battle against Team Rocket was pretty intense. Oh, dang it, I also forgot to bring up from my favorite Pokemon's list, Mewtwo. And we also had Gyarados. So it's a whole host of Pokemon I really like. But a very good little chapter too. Just seeing the takedown of Team Rocket, it was quite the climactic event. I'm interested to see what else happens with a lot of the gym leaders, just because it's interesting to see gym leaders as, such adversaries. We've had in the Pokemon anime gym leaders be a bit threatening, but never going so far, and giving the gym badges such a major purpose. But you never face off against Giovanni, which I thought was a little odd. It's just like, man, you don't fight Giovanni? That's weird. Then again, did you fight Giovanni in the game? Now I'm starting to not be able to remember if that was a thing. But the fusing of 3 Pokemon, man, jeez. That's out there, but why not? So many different things happen later down the line involving Pokemon, both in the games and the anime. Why wouldn't something weird like that happen as well? Now that's really thinking outside the box though. Do I think Koga, Lieutenant Surge, and Sabrina are dead? No, they got out. But how going forward do they not get arrested? That's my question. How do they end up becoming gym leaders again? Or are they just on the run eternally? Because their gyms aren't really taken over by anybody except for Koga, but Koga then becomes one of the Elite Four. So I really am wondering how that works going forward. But let me know your thoughts on these chapters in the comment section below. Which battle was your favorite? I do wish that it was Green who managed to use the Moonstone in order to save the day, but she did help out at the very last moment. She had to kind of realize, this is more than I can handle. Time to team up. And seeing all their Pokemon fully evolved striking back, that was cool. So again, let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. Like, comment, subscribe if you enjoyed the ride. Thank you so much for watching, and until next time, I've been Duuz-Diz-Din and hope to see you later. Take care. Bye-bye.